Hello everyone, I'm ChrispyGameplay and welcome to Awakening of the Rebellion, an amazing mod for the decade-plus old Star Wars RTS Empire at War. This guide will focus on the first moves the Rebellion can make at the beginning of the main campaign to put themselves in a good spot for success over the long haul. Now, most of the tips I'm giving are pretty universally accepted as strong moves, but there's many ways to play this game and many ways to play this mod, and you should do what feels right for you. This is simply just a guide to get yourself in a good economic position and get yourself some starting forces that are good for the long haul and put you in a good place. So let's hop into a fresh campaign and look at the planets we control, the forces we start out with, and I'll explain a few things you can do to get yourself in a good position. Now, when we hop into the campaign map, you're going to have Mon Mothma tell you a bunch of all this good stuff. These are just your victory conditions to win the map. Now, the map's pretty big. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your game is paused. You're going to want to pause the game pretty much after every move you make. I also suggest you go and save a lot because this can be a very unforgiving and tough mod, especially if you're new and not used to the map, you're not used to the way the AI reacts to things, etc, etc, etc. I am still decently learning stuff as well, but the Rebellion has become quickly my favorite faction. So I have a few little techniques that guys can use. So your starting forces are extremely good. The Rebellion gets a lot of good heroes, and they get some capital ships that can go toe-to-toe with Imperial Star Destroyers early. In the north, over Mon Cala, you have the wonderful MC-80 Liberty, a very strong early capital ship that you can't build yet. So you don't want to lose this early. This is a very strong ship. It's very good. You have Yondo Donna, who gives 10% combat bonus to all ships. So there's a lot of good stuff. Basically, you have ships over every planet, and you have some ground forces over every planet that you own as well. There's also a hero up in Bastion, the boy Kyle Katarn pre-Jedi. Down here in Mykir, you have Rebel 1, which is the second of the quote-unquote big three capital ships that you get at the start. Now, Rebel 1 is an old Providence-class carrier from the Clone War days. It is got a lot of firepower, but it is relatively weak when it comes to facing a bunch of victory classes or ISDs, but it can go toe-to-toe with a solo ISD with support. Now, you have a Concord Dawn and Mike here are kind of isolated. This is a tough position to be in. I'll talk a little bit about what you should do with these forces because they are isolated, and this capital ship is very, very important early on, but there's a few things you can do. You got this planet over here by Kessel. It's Honegger. I don't actually know how to pronounce that. We're just gonna leave that alone for now, but that's a planet you own and control. You can just leave it. Usually the Empire doesn't bother with it. Over in the Kashyyyk area, we have a bunch of ships over Toydaria, Umbara, Onderon, Manan, and Kashyyyk. Also a bunch of ground forces. None of the big three capital ships are here, but this is another consolidated area where a lot of your planets start. Right down here, we have Bothawa, Camino, and Rathana. Now, over Camino is the third of the big ships. It is the Venator class Liberation. This is Captain Shack, if you know his videos. He voices this unit, and it's an old Venator class Star Destroyer that Ram Koda was in control of. Now, it does have a special feature. If you go down to the ground forces, wherever the Liberty is stationed, you can build military commando platoons, which is code as militia. Now, they are stealth units, so they can be used for raids, etc, etc. And of course, Ram Koda here as well is probably the second strongest, if not on par with Vader, ground unit in the game. He is a Jedi. He is very strong, has a lot of health, isn't invincible, but also very, very good. And then you have Bothawa. Bothawa, of course, starts with a Alliance Intelligence Center, which allows you to build a lot of stuff. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. In the south, we have the Hoth region. You have a number of planets that you control to start here, including Alcuin, a note, Hoth, Mustafar, and Slusvan, and Utapau. Now, again, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. Aluin. I don't know. Some of these planets are really hard to canonically pronounce. So I apologize for that. And this is actually where we're gonna start our campaign, because Hoth has a tremendous amount of heroes on it. You've got Carlos Riken. You've got Garmbel Iblis. You've got Rogue Squadron. You got Leia. You got Luke. You got Mon Mothma. You got the droids. You've got Han and Chewie. So you've got a lot going on here. So it's a little daunting at first, but basically I'm going to show you how to unpause, make a move, repause. And that way you can just think. You give yourself time to think, give yourself time to move. But we're basically going to start in the south. Our first priority is going to be consolidating our fleet and taking Bespin. Now, why Bespin? Bespin is a twofold thing for the rebellion. It produces Tabana gas, which is an important resource because the rebellion doesn't get access to mines or anything like that early. So early Tabana gas at Bespin is going to increase your weekly income by quite a bit. And it's going to give you Lando Calrissian, who acts kind of like Mon Mothma. And when you put Mon Mothma on any planet, they get 100% planetary bonus income. In fact, we're going to move Mon Mothma over here because she is over Hoth, and Hoth doesn't make a tremendous amount of money. Now, in fact, we're going to start out at Hoth. And what we're going to do is I'm going to first explain to you how C-3PO and R2-D2 work. They're actually one of your strongest heroes. And the reason being for that is that they are tremendously good scouts. They can tell you basically everything on the ground and everything that is in space. Now, and all the starting forces, etc. Nothing can hide from them. So they're a really important early unit to scout where you're going to go. In fact, let's move them over here. Let's move these over here. Pause. And we're going to actually send them to Baccarat. Mission logs updated. After a few seconds, you'll get all your guides. You want to read these, especially if you're new to the game. There's a lot of things like different types of armor, different types of roles for fighters, for everything. And the most important thing is you got to understand how weapons work, how the different ion weapons work, from stunners to blasters, how the different turbo lasers work, how the different cannons work. It can be pretty daunting, but it does make sense once you read through the tooltip, how some of these things work. And honestly, you kind of just learn over time. So our first move is going to be sending droids to Baccarat. And the second move is going to be taking all of our forces in space around this area and getting them over Alwyn. Because we're going to take Bespin almost immediately. So I'm going to move this over here, going to move Han over here, and we're going to move over Alwyn. Gonna send everybody over here. Oh my gosh, I missed. Like that. And we're actually going to take Rogue Squadron 2. We're going to put everybody else into space like this. And we're going to actually take Rogue Squadron because they're very powerful in space as well. And I'm going to pause again. So, sending everywhere to a place and then pausing again gives you a little bit of time to kind of breathe and figure out what's going on. The other thing we're going to do is going to consolidate some of the ground forces. That's why I put Garm Iblis, Leia, Luke, Riken, and some of our starting forces there. We're going to take Mon Mothma, and we're actually going to move her to Mustafar. We're going to take the ground forces from Mustafar and move them over Hoth. Now, some of the ways you can get some early income, you start with 10,000, is we're actually going to sell quite a few things around the map, but we're going to sell the power generator, we're going to sell the ion cannon, and we're going to sell the base shield generator. We're going to leave the rebel camp, the Alliance headquarters just in case, but even this gives you 3,200 you can sell if you really want to. To be honest, if the enemy is attacking Hoth early, the game is probably over anyways, and you're probably going to want to restart. So that is going to be our start here. Let's see. Are all the fleets over there yet? Not quite. And then we're just going to let this run for a second, get our units up there, and then we're going to send them to Bespin. Now, as you get better at this game, you're going to do a lot of the 3 major sections stuff at the same time. I'm going to focus on one area at a time, do a few things, then move to the next area. While it's not as clean to do that, and you definitely want to be moving around and trying to get things, queued up in multiple areas at once at your beginning. For newer players, this can be a lot. So just worry about one area at a time, but make sure you're pausing after everything you do, just in case. In fact, we're going to take the ground forces from Sluisvan and move them over Alwyn just in case.
On my way.
Let's see, is Bespin controlled? It is not. Okay, and there it is. We get Lando Calrissian and control of Bespin. Bespin starts as a base 298. Well, that's with Lando on the planet. So is really, really nice income boost to you. But it also will get a space station going right away in Bespin. Once you get that space station up, you can start building Tabana gas, which is really, really important. Now, that's going to be your start in the south. Basically, from there, you want to take Baccarat as soon as possible and because Baccarat is the ability to create unique units. It also can have a level 3 space station, and it is just a good planet overall to own. The Black Sun loves to jack their forces up here and try to slam Bespin, so you want to try to take Baccarat early. It's got good income. It's just a really good planet to own, so that's why I sent C-3PO and R2-D2 up there. After that, you're going to want to start getting Ordabana, Azamine Station, Viraxo Station. This is just the way I play. Some people will tell you to go after Sullust and Iridu, Malaster, Naboo, and Zar for a later story mission. But I'm going to tell you how to take Ordabana, Azamine Station, Viraxo Station to create a highway up to Kashyyyk. Now, speaking of the highway that we're going to want to create, that highway is going to be from Kashyyyk all the way up here in the east, down to Toydaria, Void Station, Bothawa, Faline, Viraxo Station, Azamine Station, Ordabana, to connect Hoth to Kashyyyk. And that's going to be really, really important later, and I'll explain why. So, eventually your goal is going to be to connect that highway as soon as possible. Now, over here in the southeast, you've got Camino, Bothawa, and Rothana. Now, a lot of people will say to abandon one of these planets. Personally, I like to try to hold both. You have an extremely powerful ground force with Ram Koda starting in it, and you get the Liberation. You get Juno Eclipse, and I think, what does the Liberation give? It doesn't give any bonuses, but Juno gives 10% to all fighters and bombers, which is really good, and a 5% combat bonus to all ships. She also starts in a Twin Blade Frigate, which is a really, really good long-range kind of artillery missile ship. So we're actually going to get all of these here. And I like to move everything over Bothawa because Camino already has a... is this a Queen 1 station? Yeah, it has a Queen 1 X1 Queen station, which is the level 1 space station, defense space station. And I like to move all my fleets over here. It's a small fleet, but it's a good fleet. And I move my ground forces off Rothana onto Camino. That way, Camino and Bothawa are very, very shored up and ready to go. Now, at Bothawa, the reason I want to hold Bothawa is because it's the only place, well, it's not the only place, but it starts off with an Alliance Intelligence Center. Now, what that does, it gives you early access to Affion, who you can build at the beginning if you want. He has a Nebulon B, and he gives 10% combat bonus to frigates. But the real important one is Lieutenant Page, Rebel officers, and Alliance Envoys. Now, what do Alliance Envoys do? I'm actually going to queue up 4 of them right away. Alliance Envoys are interesting. Basically, they're stealth units. You send them to enemy planets. There'll be a little circle in the bottom left there. and they basically siphon some of the credits. They're smugglers. They're siphon some of the credits off of planets. Now, I like to send them to Corellia, Cato Nemoidia. I like to send them to... Don't send them to Coruscant, because the Emperor's there, and he'll just auto get rid of them. Chandril is good. You can send them to the Wheel as well, but the Wheel is going to be on our early targets. So we... you could maybe send them one of the first ones over there. Ordabana is a good one to first send them to. Basically, look at the base... and anything over 100, you want to send them there. That'll be a good option. Now, basically, once they get here, you'll have a couple bombers, a couple flyers, a couple dreadnoughts, and the Liberty, which is really, really strong, and a few support ships. Now, I would just create a few Z95s over here because you're going to need them. They're super cheap, and they're pretty decent fighters. So we're going to get that fleet ready to either take Void Station or Faline. Now, they have level 1 Empire space stations, so they are going to be kind of difficult to take without support. My advice is to just take it slow. Do not fight fighters or support ships under the actual space station that spawns in those areas. You basically want to send like a long probe Y-Wing, an X-Wing, something like that into the fray to pull them off the station and towards your fleet. Now, you want to do everything you can to protect the Liberty and Juno early. You don't want to lose your heroes early. It can be really tough to swallow. Eventually, you're going to lose some heroes. That's okay. But if it's not a major hero, you will be very, very upset if you lose your minor heroes. Now, that being said, Ram Koda is a minor hero. He's not a major hero, and he's one of your strongest heroes. So make sure you don't lose him. The Liberation is just a really good early unit, and so is Juno, so you want to make sure to take care of them. Again, so that's pretty much all you're doing with Camino and Bothawa. Camino does get a nice cheap ground unit situation, so if you want to make some ground units and start getting your ground force together down here, that's not a bad idea either, but you don't have to. That's really up to you what you do with your first week or two amount of money. Now, up here in Kashyyyk, we have a few things that are going on. So you have Kashyyyk, Umbara, Onderon, Manaan, Toydaria, and you've got Honagar over here. Basically, you're not going to do anything with Honagar for now. You've got what? You've got a Z95 and a Y-Wing here. I mean, and they've got a level 1 station. So that's just everything's just gonna stay there because you've got Kessel there. Now there's a few things you could do. Onderon and Manaan, while they do give you some decent income to start, Vader starts at Cato Nemoidia, and these ISDs, in fact, I think the fleet is already gathering to take Manaan. Manaan or Onderon always gets slaughtered really early on, probably by week 5. So in my playthroughs, a lot of times Manaan's ground forces can hold out. So you have one of two options. You could sell everything on Manaan, get all of this stuff to Kashyyyk, which I like to do, or you could try to hold out on the ground at Manaan. Now, it's going to keep you from having any air stuff. I would actually just get this out of here. We're going to get this out of here, this out of here. We're going to consolidate all our space units above Kashyyyk. But Manaan does have a very good layout, and because of your shield, what you can do is in this middle area where the Seraph class is, you can basically post up your units right at the edge of the shield and hold off. And even if Vader's there, sometimes you can pick off units. Now, if you do decide to sell, do not get rid of your rebel camp. Get rid of, move everything away, but keep your rebel camp. Now, why? The rebel camp starts with a T-47 airspeeder, like the snow speeder. Basically, Veers, a lot of times, will be on the ground forces that fights Manaan and Onderon. And what you're going to want to do is take that T-47. It has the cable ability. You're going to want to try to snipe Veers early. I don't know exactly how long the cooldown is for major enemy heroes, but taking Veers out of the game early, even if it costs you a planet, is very huge. His AT-AT is super powerful early on. It's a pain to deal with. But amazingly, we have that T-47, which can take it out. Now, keep in mind, if there's a bunch of units below it, it can get blown up pretty easy. So you want to be strategic about it. Hold back your T-47, wait till Veers is behind the forces, then rush in with it, do the cable tow, and try to kill it. It may take a couple tries, but you know, it's totally worth it. Now, for now, I am just gonna leave these ground forces. Might as well. Manan's good. Now, Onderon, I'm gonna just sell everything. Onderon is way too hard to hold. So we're just gonna send our ground forces to Kashyyyk. We're gonna take on Barrow's ground forces to Kashyyyk. And then we're going to just pause and look at what Kashyyyk's got. Now, Kashyyyk does start with a decent support fleet, but there's no capital ship here. So Kashyyyk can't really do much until we connect Kashyyyk to Mykir and Rebel 1. That's okay. It's just one of those things where you might have to punch through Roche. Now, Roche, I think it's a neutral planet. It is a neutral planet, but it has an absolute ridiculous amount of fighters to start off. And this fleet that you get to start, while it does have a couple corvettes, it's lacking fighters. It's lacking fighters. So what you're going to do is you're going to actually go to these Fang fighters right here. Now, these are really good Mandalorian space fighters. You're just going to build a ton of these. Get a ton of those done. Get a ton of those, and that Mykir grab some Z95s. Just build a shit ton of fighters. That way you can combine both these fleets over Concord Dog, take Roche, bring this fleet to Kashyyyk, and then you could hide over Kashyyyk. Again, whatever you do with Onderon Manan, that's up to you. Don't worry about losing them, though. And in fact, play out the battles, especially over Onderon, because Onderon has a level 2 space fleet, so you'll get some halfway decent units and be able to fight back there. Again, leave Honagar alone. And one of the most important things to understand is the rebellion. There's a mission that comes around about week 10 called the Mon Cala Buffer Zone. Basically, the gist of the mission is you need to take Jabim, Salukami, and the Wheel, and also Kessel to create a buffer zone around Mon Cala. Now, what does this give you? It gives you Home 1 in Admiral Akbar, which is one of the strongest heroes in the game. Now, he is a minor hero. He's not a major hero, so he can die. But he is in a... is it MC-80 Independence, or is it just an MC Independence? But it's an Independence class Mon Cala destroyer. It's the Home 1 from the movies. It is super powerful. It could go up against fleets literally by itself with a few support ships. Its firepower is unbelievable. It needs fighter support, because every big capital ship needs fighter support, but it could basically be its own fleet. And one of the first battles that you really, really want to deal with is we want to take Jabim, Salukami, the Wheel, and then Kessel as quickly as possible. How do we do this? Well, fortunately in the north, you have a pretty shored up defenses. You have Dantooine, you have Telos, you have Korriban. You've got a lot of production. Yavin 4 actually has Tabana Gas, and I'm going to actually buy Tabana Gas right off the bat, because Yavin 4 starts with a level 2 space station. The Mandalorian fleet, the Black Sun fleet, doesn't usually attack Yavin 4. In fact, in all my playthroughs, they've never attacked Yavin 4 in the first, 50 weeks. So, I mean, it's RNG, but in the end, I typically just leave Yavin 4, get Tabana Gas up, and get Yavin 4 going. Now, Yavin 4 does start with the ability to make X-Wings, and we're going to get X-Wings right away. In fact, let's queue up the X-Wings first, and then get the Tabana Gas after. At Mon Cala, we're going to do the same thing we did at Hoth. This is your most well-defended planet. We don't need the shield generator, the ion cannon, or the power generator. And in fact, if you find that you don't want to hold some of the rebel camps around this area, that's okay too to sell if you really, really want to maximize your income early. Because basically the CSA, I believe it's called the CSA, or the Confederate fleet up here, these guys don't attack really ever. But they all, if left too long, they can gather a annoying amount of forces to try to take them. And eventually they will attack. It's just a matter of when. And usually it's not within the first 20 weeks. So you have a little time to worry about them. Eventually you're going to want to take them out and secure your back line here in the outer rim. But you don't have to worry about them right now. So what I do is I like to consolidate some of my forces at Munilist with Kyle Katarn from these planets. And then I like to get all my spaceships over Renvar. You've got a really nice sizable fleet over here. So we're just going to take everything and send it to Renvar. Take everything over to Renvar. In fact, we're going to take... Actually, we're gonna take everything from Munilist and bring it to Korriban to get ready for the ground invasion of these planets down south. Now, it can be kind of scary leaving all these planets undefended, but trust me, you're mostly going to be good. If you lose Scipio early, that's fine. If you think you're going to lose Scipio and you're scared about it, build an Alliance medium shipyard here, which I will do right now. And also, you don't have to do that. You can also get some early tech to it, like Mon Cala. You can get the early shipyards. If anything, I'd actually get the early small crafts so you can unlock U-Wings and stuff like that. Or even get some advanced light shipyards so you can make X-Wings. So yeah, so basically we're going to get our fleet over Renvar. You're going to have a decent sized fleet. This is a really good fleet to start. You have some X-Wings, Z95s, you got some support ships, you've got the Brahatak gunship, which debuffs fighters, you've got dreadnoughts for support, and meat shields, and you've got that big capital ship. So, what you're going to do from Renvar is you're just going to punch your fleet through Jabim, take Salyukami, take the wheel. Now, it takes a bit of time, and especially the wheel and Salyukami have level 2 stations. Actually, Kessel does too. And you want to really take your time on those planets because they can be a little tricky to not lose a ton of forces. Save after every battle. And if you feel like and save before every battle too. And if you feel like you are losing too much, just learn the battles and learn how the AI reacts and what they do, what works better, etc., etc. And you'll find yourself in a pretty decent spot. And you'll have home 1 in Admiral Akbar. Now from there, your last big move to start is going to get that highway that I was talking about going. So from Ordabana, Azamine Station, Viraxo Station, Faline, Tabathawa, Void Station, Toydaria, Kashyyyk, Kessel, and then up to Mon Cala. Basically, after you get that established, you're going to send Mon Mothma all the way up to Mon Cala. Now, why do we want to do that early? We want to do that early because you get a ton, like I'm talking 6 to 8, I think, well, maybe it might be more 5 to 7, free Mon Calamari capital ships over a course of a few weeks. And it is very much worth it. Now, there are some of the smaller capital ships, but there's a bunch of artillery capital ships. I think you get an Alliance at the end, which is a really, really good beefy ship. What did we get? Just starting to get some. Make sure you're doing your randomly generated missions too. Make sure you're doing them, because as you get more support, you get really, really, really good units as this gets higher. Once this gets to around like 50, you start getting some really massive payouts for the missions. And that's really going to be the way you start. Now, Yaga Minor up here is a very, very big Empire stronghold that you don't really have to worry about because it acts as a buffer between the Black Sun and you over here. So I wouldn't worry too much about it because it is... they're not going to attack you from Yaga Minor. Munilist may get hit, or Bastion may get hit from Kaylee eventually, but just keep an eye. If you lose a couple planets, like if you lose Scipio, if you pull this fleet from through Roche and get it to Kashyyyk and you lose Mykir or Concord Dawn, I like to try to hold Concord Dawn because I like the Fang fighters in my fleet early on because they are really good dog fighters. Um, and it's really really cool. I mean, they're really good interceptors. Yeah, they just do really good in tandem with X-wings too. And don't discount making Brahatok gunship groups because they debuff enemy fighters and it makes X-wings just tear through them. So that's going to be a lot of your early moves. You could already see in Cato Nemoidia, it looks like they're building some heroes to attack Manan. I'm sure that's going to happen. And then from there, you're just going to want to set up your envoys into enemy territory to filter off economy. You're going to want to start building some production facilities. I like to get a level 3 space station at Sluice Von and start being able to produce capital ships in the south, because you don't start with a capital ship in the south. So you want to get the ability maybe even to just make an MC-75 early to add to this fleet to give it some potential to punch through like Ordabana and stuff like that, or through Sullust. And there's a number of things you could do from here. One of the biggest one down south is getting Sullust. There's a Sullust Celestian. Actually, you get 2 Sullust heroes. I believe it's from Sullust and Naboo. You conquer Sullust, you get a Quasar unit. And then I think you have to conquer Naboo to get the other ship. I forget what ship it is. It's the big torpedo looking ship. It's escaping me right now. I don't know why. I know what it's called. I want to call it a Providence. It's not a Providence. But yeah, so Sullust is going to be super important. You want to get this as soon as possible when you have the means. But again, do that after you establish your highway. This highway will be hit over and over again, but just make sure you keep it clear. You don't have to you can just put space stations there. They're only level 1 space stations at all these stations, so you could basically just leave them undefended or leave a few Corellian corvettes there or something. But that's going to be pretty much your start. The biggest thing I'll say is hut space right here. These planets are really, really nice planets to grab when you can, especially once you connect Kashyyyk and you have access to Rebel 1. I would say your priority is probably to get the CSA gone over here and get them out of here. You could also take over the Hapan planets as well if you want. But again, it's up to you. There's a number of really, really good options. You could even shoot into the core, take Atzeri or Thyfera and shoot into the core and start taking some of their planets. Basically, your biggest issue is going to be Doom fleets from the Empire and Black Sun. That make sure to make some spies. Keep an eye on, Tatooine, Hypori. If you see a big fleet starting to gather, there is a chance that it may attack, and sometimes it blindsides you and you lose a space battle. It's okay. You're going to take losses in this game. Learning how to play it, learning how to get some economic buildings up. As Alliance, you have access to, the supply depots, which can come in different forms as you progress through the game, and they give you a little bit of planetary income as well. So if you have like a Tabana gas refinery on Yavin 4, you can grab. Actually, you can't grab that one on here, but you can get some supply bases at planets that have a little extra income, etc., etc., etc. And really, after you get the Mon Cala quests done, it's really up to you where you want to go. Feel it out. If you want to punch into Karita, into Chandrilla, and try to hit Quat, and try to disable the Empire shipyards, even with some hit and run tactics, do it. Don't be afraid to retreat from battles, like pick off ships and retreat, pick off buildings and retreat. One of the things I like to do is get an X-Wing as like the lead group here, and then zoom it, close my foils and zoom it to a building, then drop all my ships over it, snipe the building, and then just get out. Because the Rebel Alliance has a very short retreat option. And that's going to be basically how you start. Each region has some things that you should do and are considered good moves. Again, I prefer to go to Baccarat in the south, but you can go to Ordabana. You can hit Sullust early. Sullust is kind of tough because it does have a level 3 station to start, and so does Iridu. So you might want to wait until you could get Home 1 down here, get some capital ships down here. But overall, utilize your heroes. Remember that rebels have access to a ton of stealth heroes that can do raids. You also have access to Ram Koda's early infantry and some Bothan probe platoons. They're kind of expensive early on, so I don't know if you want to invest too heavily yet. I don't utilize raids too much in the super early game, but if you do want to build a quick early game raid force, you could bring them into places like Coruscant or Chandrila or Quat and just tear apart their base income in the core. Or you could hit the Black Sun down south near Tatooine and kind of start to try to mess up their economy and stuff like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's basically how you start as the Rebel Alliance. Each region has different things you can do, and then from there, you can just play it out. Now, don't be afraid to start a campaign, try all the moves I told you, and then adjust it, and then just start over. See how the AI reacts, start to see patterns in how the AI attacks. Usually the AI will attack a target that it statistically calculates it can take. Like already it looks like there's a fleet gathering over Caeda Nemoidia to attack Manan. So that's going to be a thing that they're going to do because it calculates there's only a level 1 station here, and there's no fleet above, so they're probably going to be able to take that. But yeah, take your time. Remember that Imperial Star Destroyers aren't as scary as they seem. You have superior fighters. You have really good ground forces. Kashyyyk starts with Wookiee warriors, too, that you can get. You can also get early Alliance suppression platoons. I mean, you start with level 2 infantry on Kashyyyk, so just keep that in mind. Like, you can build tier 2 army troopers and tier 2 suppression platoons at Kashyyyk. Actually, you can't create the I misspoke. You can't create the suppression platform or suppression platoons until you get the infantry 1. But getting infantry 1 early is pretty good too, so you can get infantry run and get that going. But these Kashyyyk warrior platoons are really good. Their war cry is a good buff. Now, keep in mind also that some planets have special units, like Umbara has the Umbara fighters. They're a little expensive, but they're really good. They are really, really good strike fighters. And they have ion torpedoes, which can be really good against bigger ships. So if you want to build a few of those, you can do that too. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this Rebel Alliance guide start video. I don't believe I missed anything I wanted to go over. I hope you guys enjoy this. I will be starting a campaign as the Black Sun very soon here on my channel. Be checking out the 2.10 version of the Black Sun. As I've been playing a lot of Rebel Alliance, I want to see how they go. And basically, it's going to be a noob playthrough on hard. We're going to take our take our losses, take our hits, and kind of and go with the flow. So if you guys are enjoying Awakening of the Rebellion, you want to see more, let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if you have any tips for new players on some big moves to play or to make that I did not mention, because again, there's a tremendous amount of ways you can play this game. There's a tremendous amount of things you can do. I didn't even go over every hero and their abilities specifically. There are some really strong heroes, really strong abilities, like Luke's Lucky Shot, Leia's ground ability to have a shield. Oh, I did forget one thing. I will say real quick that Mon Cala Defenders, you can make 3 of them. Make them as early as you can, because Mon Cala Defender platoons can help with your invasion here. So if you have the money, let's just get rid of this for now. Boom, just get those built, because they will be awesome. And also, don't overbuild them. It will refund you, but you can only have 3, so just build 3. But it's money you'll have tied up for no reason until the computer realizes, hey, you can't build any more one of those. But yeah, so that's my guide to the Rebellion. This works for, higher difficulties, but it's also very, very good for lower difficulties. This is a hard start. I should have said that already. This is on hard, but you can use it on medium or the insanity difficulty, which is very, very tough. So yeah, If you guys want to hear more tips and tricks videos, if you want to see a couple different playthroughs of these factions, I am new to the modded RTS scene, and it's something that's going to be newer to my channel, as I mostly cover a lot of stuff on my Twitch and horror games and tips and tricks videos and all sorts of other stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys let me know in the comments what you want to see in terms of content, in terms of this game, Empire at War, and eventually we'll get to check out other mods like Thrawn's Revenge and Fall of the Republic, which are about to get 1.3 updates. I'm just waiting for those updates to come out so that we can get kind of like a fresh build to start working on. So thank you guys. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy the Empire at War content, and let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.